Before the Army rolls out a new combat uniform, it sets it on fire. Here at the Natick Soldier Systems Center, the mission is twofold. First, put military gear through hell.
And I like to say, if they make it, I try to break it.
Second, do the same to the soldiers who wear it.
We call him Randy over there, weighs about 180 pounds, dragging him a couple meters. You know, it's tough on the quads.
For over 60 years, Natick Labs has helped invent some of the Army's most important gear, like maternity flight suits for Air Force pilots.
So that female aviators could fly longer into their pregnancy.
And meals ready to eat, also known as MREs.
Some of my favorite developmental rations have been the MRE pizza.
But battlefields are changing faster than ever. Tiny drones make it nearly impossible for soldiers to hide. Army gear also has to perform in the Arctic, where melting ice is making the terrain wetter and more unpredictable.
We know for a fact that the Arctic is becoming more important.
We are so far behind other nations who have saw that coming.
We spent 2 days inside the Army's design lab to see how it's fixed problems like food rotting in the jungle and gear freezing solid in the Arctic, and how it's trying to keep soldiers safe in future conflicts. Back in World War II, U.S. military gear kept failing in harsh terrain.
Part of the problem is that you go to war with the stuff that you had for the last war.
That's Mary Roach, whose book Grunt gets into the science of how soldiers are fed and equipped. In a 1943 operation in Alaska, more soldiers were injured from trench foot than by enemy bullets. During World War II, the Army brought in George Doriot, a Harvard Business School professor, to reinvent how soldiers gear up for the world's harshest environments. The Natick Soldier Systems Center opened in 1954 and became the Army's mad science lab for developing better equipment.
It is just a surprise to find out all the different things that go into something as seemingly basic as a uniform.
Today, textile experts test gear for worst-case scenarios, such as uniforms catching fire.
The test is designed to allow someone to egress from either a vehicle or an aircraft if there was a flash fire. So that's where the 4-second burn comes from. Each one has 124 sensors distributed across the mannequin body, and it will give us the overall percentage of first, second, and third degree burns that the mannequin received from that test.
But uniforms also have to be comfortable.
Basically, everything is a trade-off. Is your shirt gonna protect you in a fire? Great, but is it so uncomfortable and sweaty and hot that you don't want to wear it?
Over in the helmet lab, engineers like Chuck Hewitt have been dealing with this challenge for decades. Since the 1970s, Natick has turned heavy steel helmets into today's lighter plastic ones. It's also testing custom liners that prevent helmets from wobbling.
We scan their heads and potentially fit them with a custom fit pad solution.
That matters now because gear like night vision makes soldiers' helmets weigh more than 6 pounds. Bulk is one reason Natick abandoned a project to develop a super soldier exoskeleton.
If you fell over, it was impossible to get back up.
I mean, ultimately, we would love to have a whole suit exoskeleton, right? But, I mean, the technology's not there yet.
Natick also has to make sure soldiers can perform at extreme altitudes. By around 8,000 feet, decision-making starts to decline. By 12,000 feet, memory and alertness breaks down too. This room, with the oxygen sucked out of it, simulates what it's like to fight at 14,000 feet, the maximum altitude a soldier might have to perform at.
Knowing how they're going to perform at altitude is critical information for leaders and decision makers in terms of the planning for those operations, to include the time needed to conduct the operation, sustainment in terms of food, water, other supplies that are needed, as well as any sort of evacuation or movement in or out of altitude.
Soldiers wear masks that monitor their vital signs.
The cardboard is over the treadmill because we don't want the participants to see how fast they're going. A lot of times we do time trials at altitude, and the treadmill speeds can influence their effort levels.
Some studies keep soldiers here for 24 hours.
Years ago, they did a stay, we called it the Everest study, where they stayed in for about 40 days for each exposure to mimic the ascent to the top of Everest. We don't do any studies that lengthy anymore.
Soldiers are also deliberately sleep deprived.
Periods of 4 hours or less over multiple days, coupled with heavy physical activity.
Staff Sergeant Joseph Weiss simulates a 2-hour hike and is then tested on memory and decision making.
I've kind of gotten used to being tired, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference anymore.
But some of the harshest conditions are created in this facility, called the Doriot Climatic Chambers.
The extreme weathers that we can simulate are minus 72 degrees Fahrenheit and 165 degrees Fahrenheit.
The wind fans can go up to 45 miles an hour. We can make up to 4 inches an hour of rain.
It recreates conditions in the Arctic, which is becoming more important to the U.S. military. In 2025, the U.S. committed over $6 billion to build 11 new icebreakers to keep up with growing competition in the region. Journalist Kenneth Rosen, who spent years reporting on the Arctic, says the U.S. is playing catch-up.
After the Cold War, our competency in the Arctic diminished. We had no reason to be up there.
Russia and China have more icebreakers than the U.S. and are expanding shipping routes as Arctic ice melts at near-record levels. As Arctic conditions turn wetter and more unpredictable, Natick Labs is testing lighter uniforms that keep soldiers dry and improve mobility. We saw its current cold weather suits put to the test at a training facility in Vermont, where soldiers spend 2 weeks preparing to become Army mountaineers. They climb ice walls and trek mountains in frigid conditions. During training, these soldiers rely on another product developed at Natick, the MRE, or Meal Ready to Eat.
They are the cornerstone ration used by all of the armed services. The MREs, you would have 3 per day. You would have 1 for breakfast, 1 for lunch, and 1 for dinner.
Military rations, especially in the United States military, have changed dramatically in the last 50 years.
From World War II through the Vietnam War, soldiers carried heavy canned foods known as C rations. Starting in the 1970s, Natick developed lighter weight packaging.
This demonstration here shows the number of MREs that you would be required to bring with you on a 7-day mission. This is only MREs currently in this rucksack, not including ammo and all of the other things you need.
It also developed meals in tube form for spy plane pilots.
This one right here is a caffeinated chocolate pudding. We also have things like chicken tortilla soup. This would connect to the pilot's mask and allow them to consume the tube food without taking off their mask and without losing that oxygen high up in the atmosphere.
This vacuum microwave dryer sucks moisture out of foods so they last longer and weigh less.
So we're able to make items that might be refrigerated, like a cheesecake, actually shelf stable for a 3-year shelf life. We retain a lot of the nutrients in the food. The food becomes lighter weight, so it lowers the load on the soldier, and we can still deliver efficient nutrition. So this is what our final product will look like from our manufacturer. This is our dried lemon vanilla cheesecake.
In the packaging testing lab, Wes Long's job is to ensure rations reach soldiers in one piece.
And I like to say, if they make it, I try to break it.
A vibrating table tests how MREs hold up on trucks driving over rugged terrain.
Food has to be in the pouch has to be in the bag, and the bag has to be in the box. And collectively, all of that is protecting that for the warfighter.
Wes also drops it from more than 8 feet high.
3, 2, 1.
But when Natick first rolled out MREs in the 80s, taste was the biggest challenge.
MREs were jokingly known as meals refused by everyone for quite some time.
Originally there were 12 menus. During Desert Storm, we discovered that A prolonged period of time with just 12 different meals available resulted in what we call menu fatigue.
In the 90s, the Army adopted a new motto for its MREs.
Warfighter tested, warfighter recommended, and warfighter approved.
It scrapped meals like ham and chicken loaf and packages of beef frankfurters soldiers nicknamed the Four Fingers of Death. And to avoid menu fatigue, the military rotates the recipes annually based on soldier feedback and new studies. Natick spent 2 decades engineering a pizza MRE.
To keep the crust crisp and that the filling didn't make the crust soggy. A lot of work went into the military pizza.
But not all troops rely on MREs. On ships and submarines, cooks prepare fresh meals for crew members.
It's a 24-hour-a-day process, and then it's usually 1 cook, maybe 2, in the galley at any given time.
To save time, Natick is testing a fully automated bread maker developed by a company in Washington that can make 10 loaves an hour. This $50 million complex, about 1.5 football fields in size, brings all soldier testing under one roof. In the Combat Maneuver Lab, soldiers go through realistic conflict scenarios, while sensors and overhead cameras track their every move.
This is an inflatable modular shoot house. It allows us to actually configure this shoot house indoors and outdoors. What you see is a small team of soldiers performing a battle drill where they're going to enter and clear a room of friendly or not friendly targets. So we can actually use that to track their motion as they're moving through.
In this exercise, soldiers like Leo Taylor use a weighted dummy to simulate a casualty drag when soldiers pull a wounded soldier to safety.
We call him Randy over there, weighs about 180 pounds, dragging him a couple meters. You know, it's tough on the quads.
Natick sends the data from these tests back to its labs to track how the gear impacts soldier performance.
For an example, if we had a new rucksack and somebody was trying to climb over a wall, you could look at how different designs might allow them to climb over easier, faster.
The complex also has a virtual reality simulator that tracks soldiers' decision-making across live fire scenarios. The Army is rolling out more of this training nationwide, saying it's cheaper than using real ammunition and lets soldiers train from pretty much anywhere.
So we have a lot of scenarios, such as the one that's ongoing behind me, where, for example, you have potential threats moving towards you constantly. If they, for example, miss a target or they engage a non-target, they will receive a shock.
When I felt the shock, it does really get into your body, you'll feel it.
But advances in tech are creating new threats that Natick is still trying to solve, including how to design uniforms that hide soldiers from enemy drones.
No one saw the proliferation of UAVs. I mean, these things are everywhere, right? And so who would have thought that would have been a weapon with sensors on them that can see soldiers in different environments. And so we got to be able to provide our soldiers with more capability than they have today in terms of how they hide.
Demand for anti-drone gear continues to grow worldwide. In March 2026, the Marines requested more than 60,000 camouflage cloaks to mask body heat from infrared sensors. Ukraine has developed its own ponchos against Russian drones, but they work only when soldiers are stationary. Challenges like this highlight the balancing act at Natick, preparing for modern threats while anticipating what comes next.
So thinking 5, 10, 20 years in the future.
As the U.S. military prepares to fight in more extreme environments, like the Arctic, high-altitude mountains, and the jungles of the Asia-Pacific, the right gear and meals could mean the difference between life and death.
We want to bring our soldiers home from any conflict safe. And we're the only center with soldier in its name, so we inherently take that to heart.